everyone thought Ecuador was done,
I do think that this is far more about Ecuador and not being able to win a game that was a must-win for them. It was such a disappointment.
Then they did this.
There's a problem. And Kulo's strike on splendid goal! Vite placing it. Rodriguez, it is touchdown!
Drama for Ecuador. They came into the game today without a goal, without a victory, and they are through to the knockouts.
With a talented group of players, a powerful and athletic style of play, and one of the best defenses out there, they're one of those countries that you don't want to run into.
And you look at a lot of these guys that are playing in top European teams, and we mentioned the elite defense first in William Pacho, who's playing at PSG, winning the Champions League, and now Pierro Hincapie, who had the undefeated run with Bayer Leverkusen and arrived at Arsenal. They are securing Ecuador's name.
This Ecuador team feels very different from the great ones in the past. Before, they relied more on local legends playing in South America. Now their squad is filled with young, athletic, and technically gifted players competing in the biggest leagues in Europe.
Oh, how about that on the volley for 1-1, Moises Caicedo!
The latter with the cross, which was perfect. Kendry Paez, the teenager, timing his run to perfection and nodding the visitors into the lead.
Rio looks to slide that through to Pierro Hincapie, who's in on goal here, and Hincapie scores his first Premier League goal.
Let's start with a name that most of you probably already know, Moises Caicedo. The Chelsea man has become one of the best midfielders in the Premier League and the most important player for Ecuador. His story alone is incredible. He went from playing football in Santo Domingo to becoming one of the most expensive midfielders in football history. Caicedo is the heart and engine of this Ecuador side. He protects the defense like a condom, wins the ball back, and helps start attacks almost instantly. Defensively, he reads the game so well and cuts out passes like a knife. His ball-winning ability is one of the biggest reasons why Ecuador are so strong defensively. He is genuinely one of the best tacklers in the world. I mean, this guy takes the ball from attackers the way you take candy from a baby. The moment he wins possession, Ecuador can counter straight away. Caicedo looks to move the ball forward quickly and release Ecuador's fast wingers into space. That direct transition style is one of the biggest strengths of this team. What also makes him super important is his stamina and mentality, especially in big matches. In difficult World Cup qualifiers, like Ecuador's huge 1-0 win over Argentina, Caicedo's discipline and energy helped them stay compact and organized even while defending for long periods. This guy genuinely plays like he has iron lungs. He's the only midfielder I saw that made life miserable for Vitinha and João Neves. If anybody tries to tell you that this guy is just a shin kicker or a foul merchant, just know that they do not watch football, or they watch football with a blindfold on. Over the last few years, he's improved so much going forward. He's become more confident carrying the ball and shooting from distance. I mean, have you seen some of the goals that he has scored for Chelsea?
Twice. Caicedo, is he going to try and beat him from inside his own half? Oh, Moises Caicedo! I can't believe it!
He gives Ecuador another threat from midfield and makes them so much harder to defend against. Now, a huge reason why Ecuador have become so hard to beat is because of William Pacho. The PSG defender has completely transformed the back line and helped turn Ecuador into one of the best defensive teams in South America. Trust me, if this guy was French, Portuguese, or English, you would have heard about how dominant he is, especially considering how good PSG have been. Pacho is strong, fast, calm under pressure, and excellent in 1v1 situations. He brings the kind of tactical discipline and confidence that you see from defenders playing at the very highest level in Europe, which is exactly where Pacho has played, the anchor at the back for PSG, one of the most dominant teams that we have seen in the past few years. He was an absolute beast during qualifying. Ecuador kept 13 clean sheets in 18 matches, which is an incredible record in South American qualifying where every game is super intense and difficult. A lot of Ecuador's wins became these controlled 1-0 matches where their defense simply refused to break. Pacho rarely lets players turn. He stays tight on their back, making their life miserable. I mean, imagine trying to turn as a striker and this guy's on your back humping you. Then his recovery speed is outstanding for somebody his size. So even when Ecuador push higher up the pitch, he has the pace to recover and stop dangerous counterattacks. I have seen him do this time and time again for PSG, both in Ligue 1 and the Champions League. Look at his gradient grade for tackling, blocking, and positioning. He is the 6th best defender in Ligue 1 in terms of positioning and tackling. What also helps Ecuador is how calm he is on the ball. He can play out from from the back when needed, and doesn't panic under pressure, which gives the team more control during difficult moments. Gradient gave him an 84.8 rating for ball control. So what these guys do is they combine data with people who actually watch the games, and they develop a rating for the player between 1 and 100. The closer you are to 100, the better your rating is. So Pacho is actually the third best defender on the ball in Ligue 1 according to Gradient's ratings. If you guys want to take a deeper look at their stats and see how Gradient grades players, just check out the link in my description. Winning the Champions League with Paris Saint-Germain also gave him valuable experience. Playing in huge matches against Europe's best attackers have helped prepare him for the pressure and intensity that Ecuador will face in international football. Now, alongside Pacho is another fantastic defender in Pierro Hincapie. This guy was killing it for Arsenal, showing why so many people now rate him as one of the most complete young defenders in the game. I think most Arsenal fans completely underrated this guy when they initially signed him on loan from Bayer Leverkusen. They hadn't really watched him play, and there wasn't that much hype around the transfer because Arsenal had just signed Eze. But now these guys have all realized Pierro Hincapie is an absolute beast. I mean, these South American defenders, they are built different. What makes Hincapie so valuable is his versatility. He can play as a center back or as a left back, which gives Ecuador a lot more tactical flexibility. Their manager, Sebastian Beccacece, can change formations or defensive setups without needing to make any subs. Hincapie just adapts comfortably. If you watch him play, he's also such a smart defender. Usually when people make a clearance, they just send it as far away as they can. But Hincapie turns clearances into passes. You see it all the time when he heads the ball or clears it. The ball always ends up to a teammate. His passing is calm and precise, and he's constantly looking for progressive passes into the midfield to find players like Moises Caicedo or Ecuador's fast wingers. Physically, he's really impressive too. He has the speed to recover during counterattacks and the strength to bully attackers. That combination of technical quality and athleticism is what makes him the perfect modern day defender. His partnership with Pacho is one of Ecuador's biggest strengths. Together they just have everything: speed, composure, physicality, and very high footballing IQ. This is one of the best defensive duos in the world, and the only reason people are not talking about them is because they're not European. Then there's Ener Valencia. This man is an unk now, but he's still the nation's all-time leading goal scorer. He's still so important to the team, and they will need his experience from having scored crucial goals both at the 2014 and 2022 World Cup. In goal, Hernan Galíndez gives the squad experience and leadership. He's been a part of Ecuador's setup through multiple qualification campaigns, so he can provide some calmness in those big moments. Then there's Kevin Rodriguez, one of the rising attacking talents in the squad. He plays in the Belgian Pro League. He brings speed, aggressive pressing, and a constant threat running in behind defenses, which fits perfectly with Ecuador's fast and direct style of play. It's actually kind of crazy how talented Ecuador are now, because for so many years, for so long, they were never seen as a major force on the international stage. Before 2002, they had never qualified for a World Cup and were usually overshadowed by South American giants like Brazil and Argentina. But once they finally broke through, everything started to change. Since then, Ecuador has become a much more respected and consistent international team. The 2002 World Cup in Korea and Japan was a historic moment in Ecuadorian football history. After finishing second in South American qualifying ahead of Brazil, Ecuador reached their first ever World Cup with a team filled with national legends like Ivan Hurtado and Alex Aguinaga. The tournament did not start off well with losses to Italy and Mexico. However, it still gave Ecuador two unforgettable moments. The first was their first ever World Cup goal. Against Mexico, Agustin Delgado scored with a powerful header just 5 minutes into the game.
Delgado's there, he scored! After only 5 minutes, that's a shot.
The second historic moment came in their final group match when Ecuador beat Croatia 1-0 thanks to a goal from Edison Mendez.
Delgado and Edison Mendez, and the goalkeeper should have kept it out but didn't, and Ecuador lead.
It was Ecuador's first ever World Cup win. The 2006 World Cup in Germany is still considered Ecuador's best ever tournament. Led by coach Luis Fernando Suarez, Ecuador reached the round of 16 for the first time in their history. They shocked a lot of people early in the tournament with a 2-0 win over Poland, and then crushed Costa Rica 3-0. Players like Delgado and Carlos Tenorio caused huge problems for defenses with their strength, pace, and finishing ability. Their run eventually ended with a narrow 1-0 loss to England. That game was decided by the famous free kick from David Beckham, but Ecuador earned a lot of respect for how organized and disciplined they were throughout the tournament. Ecuador returned to the World Cup in 2014 and 2022, but in both tournaments they exited in the group stage. In 2014, Ener Valencia became the star of the team. He scored 3 goals during the tournament, including 2 in an important win over Honduras.
Deflection's awkward and it's in! Enner Valencia! It's Walter Iovi, and the header's in! He's done it again! Enner Valencia!
Then in 2022, Ecuador opened the entire tournament against host Qatar and won 2-0 with another brilliant performance from Valencia, who scored both goals.
For Ecuador, it's 1-0. This time, the goal will count. Preciado, decent looking ball, it's 2. Same player, twice the advantage.
Ecuador also impressed in a 1-1 draw against the Netherlands, but a painful 2-1 loss to Senegal in the final group game knocked them out of the competition. Even so, the tournament showed that Ecuador's new generation was starting to form, and they took that momentum with them into the 2026 World Cup qualifying campaign. But things did not start smoothly. Before the qualifiers even really got going, the team was hit with a 3-point deduction because of the Byron Castillo controversy from the previous World Cup cycle. The issue centered around documents connected to Byron Castillo and questions about information related to his birth records. In the end, the Court of Arbitration for Sports ruled that Castillo was allowed to play for Ecuador, but the Ecuadorian Football Federation had used documents that contained false information. So because of that, Ecuador started the 2026 qualifying campaign with a 3-point penalty. For a lot of teams, that kind of setback so early would have destroyed their confidence. But for Ecuador, it actually brought the team much closer together. The players and fans embraced an us against the world mentality, and the team responded with some of the best football they had played in years. Another huge turning point came in August of 2024, when Sebastián Beccacece replaced Felix Sanchez as the manager. Beccacece quickly changed the identity of the team. Based on my research, this guy was known for his aggressive pressing and high energy football, and he used that style to turn Ecuador into one of the most organized and difficult teams to play against. Before his arrival, Ecuador were more comfortable sitting deep and just hitting teams only on the counter. Under Beccacece, they became much more confident with the ball. In home matches especially, Ecuador started controlling possession for long stretches instead of simply giving it back to the opponent and just parking the bus. You know, the Getafe special. His system usually uses a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-1-1. Ecuador became incredibly disciplined without the ball, making it so difficult for their opponent to create chances through the middle. The midfield intensity is probably the biggest feature of this team. Beccacece demands non-stop running, pressing, and aggression from his players. Even when Ecuador lose possession, these guys immediately swarm the ball, trying to win it back within seconds. The defensive structure became one of the strongest in all of South America. In the 12 World Cup qualifiers managed by Beccacece, Ecuador only conceded 2 goals, which again shows you just how difficult it was to break these guys down. The biggest result of the entire campaign came against the defending world champions. Playing in Ecuador completely frustrated Argentina, and Valencia scored the winning goal from the penalty spot, but the real story was Ecuador's defensive performance. The entire team defended with incredible discipline and intensity from start to finish. Another huge moment came away against Colombia. Ecuador played with 10 men for over an hour, but still managed to hold on for a 1-0 win. Barca should take notes. It was one of those matches that perfectly showed the mentality of this team. They defended aggressively, covered so much ground, and refused to break under the pressure. As good as Ecuador's defense has been, there is still one major concern when it comes to this team, and that's scoring goals. Ecuador only scored 14 goals in 18 qualification matches, which is not a great number for a team hoping to make a deep World Cup run. From what I've researched, a lot of Ecuadorian fans believe that they're still missing a clinical finisher. The team still depends heavily on Enner Valencia for goals. Meanwhile, young attackers like Kevin Rodriguez and Alan Minda are talented but still developing. From what I researched, this led to a lot of frustration among supporters because Ecuador often control games in the midfield and defend extremely well, but struggle to turn that dominance into goals. The issue was especially clear in the goalless draws against Brazil and Uruguay. Ecuador looked organized and comfortable in both matches, but they lacked that killer instinct in the final third to turn strong performances into wins. There's just something about this Ecuador team that feels bigger than just football. Going into the 2026 World Cup, the excitement around the country has reached another level, especially because there are so many Ecuadorian fans who live in North America. The connection between the team and the fans is crazy. The supporters bring non-stop energy with drums, flags, chants, and of course, Ecuadorian baddies. Wherever these guys play, there is a feeling that the team is carrying the entire community with them, not just the country. That passion fits the team perfectly because Ecuador also play with a lot of emotion and fight. They're not a flashy superstar team built around huge egos. They're a team that works, presses, and defends together. The fans really connect with that kind of football. The players feel like one of them. Now, I talked about Caicedo earlier, but his story is so incredible that it deserved a video on its own. To see his journey, you have to watch this video right here.